Since we're looking for any inkling of change and lack of and diminishing the pressure of simultaneity, which really leads to nothing, you can't visualize simultaneity. So we're looking for something to visualize, and we'll take any change as an indication of relief from the tactile simultaneity. And that's what the economy did. They started looking at potential changes, and they called them futures, and then tried to put a judgment on them in relation to other stocks and said they'll either go up or go down or interact. So he says the instant and simultaneous has no sequence, no linear history or projection in the future, nor any connections from one moment to the next, but are characterized, the instant and simultaneous, by resonant intervals and discontinuity. So in the new world environment of instant information, there is a need to pay attention to the neglected factor of the gap or interval as crux in creating inflation. So he's presenting why inflation is created. Inflation is the filling in, the hope for change. And now this basic fact of what he calls the tactile applies to everything he wrote. It's the same formula he applied to every change in the arts, sciences, and sports and military action. Like he said, in a decentralized situation, you can't have a world war. You can only have little civil wars in backyards of the world, like Korea or Vietnam or Iraq.
Right, that's right.
The real war is the simultaneous effect on the group mind, and the group mind is a material condition based on previous forms of thinking and having a sense of how large the community was. And that was, for 400 years, the Gutenberg linear print effect. When you bring in the simultaneous effect, all the disruptions of the last 120 years, 150 years, are understandable if you just understand it's a new electric environment, a new medium that affects the sense of the crowd.
Right.
And that's a different, in other words, the CIA looked into the Chinese and Russian brainwashing in the 50s. They wanted to see how they said, how does the brainwashing they did to prisoners of war during the Korean War, how does that affect the individual mind? And can we exploit that? Can we adapt it to our own population? What became known as MK Ultra. And everybody was looking at brainwashing affecting the individual brain and the senses of the body. They didn't know that the brainwashing was happening in this nebulous area of the group mind. The brainwashing was happening in the nebulous area of the group mind as expressed in the habits that came from previous media of communication. Now that is, if you can understand that, then you've got genius in relation to everybody else.
Okay, let's understand that, everybody. Rephrase that, because I'm listening real closely on what you mentioned there. So you're saying when the agency came in to study the Chinese, they wanted to see what the group mind of that environment, the Chinese culture, what that effect was, as well as the effect on the individual person that they were doing it to, correct? Or is that off?
No, that's a bit off. That's what the secret intelligence agencies were starting to study what McLuhan was studying. But what I meant is that the CIA studied the ability to brainwash individuals. That's why they brought in LSD, to see if that could be a truth serum.
Right.
Okay, so you're brainwashing or trying to release the mind of individuals. That is not what... And while they were doing that, they found that LSD didn't work. They did all kinds of other things. None of it worked in terms of controlling the population in the 60s. The population became a bunch of anarchists on so many levels, socially, sexually, politically, economically, culturally, and musically, recreationally in the 60s and 70s, and it could not be controlled in the way Big Brother imagined in George Orwell's novel. It to be controlled. And the reason it can be controlled is that a whole new decentralizing effect of satellites, computers, and TV altered the radio vision of control. That's what they were looking at, the CIA in the 50s. They still had a radio view of the crowd. And so therefore, all kinds of wacky things happened in the 70s, 80s, and the tells these two figure out how to control people. Basically, they realized, well, like McLuhan said to Dick Cavett, they're going to be all addicted to this new stuff. It's temporarily making them crazy. They're getting inspired with new revolutionary ideas, but those ideas will pale compared to the fact that they're going to keep watching it on TV. And so they're addicted to television, so no cultural brainwashing was necessary anymore. They didn't even need to brainwash individuals because people were, quote, addicted to the media. And that emptied out social space.
They could just do it through the media.
Well, the medium, they realized the group mind. They realized what McLuhan was saying, that the group mind controls people. And the group mind happens through the new medium, which was television. And it's all through the culture over the last 30 years. Everybody sees everybody else as a bunch of zombies, right?
Right.
It takes no genius to see that. I mean, kids saw it in punk music. They talked about everybody being zombies. They purposely put on the zombie attitude with their group band names.